Justice League Dark number 20, written by Jeff Lemire and Ray Fox, art by Mikel Janin, and finishes by Vicente Quifentes. So, last issue, Dr. Destiny stole the House of Mystery, put the entire world into nightmares, Swamp Thing got kidnapped, and Frankenstein met up with the Flash. I think that's everything. So this issue, we meet back up with Swamp Thing and Dr. Destiny. Destiny's just like throwing out biblical scripture because of course he can. And he's like, yeah, no, everything sucks and I love it this way. The whole world's one big nightmare. And Swamp Thing is just forced to sit there and listen. He's like, dude, you suck so hard. Cut over to Frankenstein and Flash. They're fighting what appears to be the son of Frankenstein. And even Frankenstein's like, yeah, my ex-wife wouldn't go down that easy. And I've already dealt with my son, so this probably isn't real. And as the son lunges after Flash, he phases through it. And in phasing through it, the sun just explodes into like a pile of mist. And he is like, huh, okay, well, it seems that these are kind of like hard light constructs, the same sort of way that like Green Lantern has. And so if I just vibrate my frequency at a certain pitch, it'll just destroy them. They just immediately break. And he does it to the body of the ex-wife, and it's just like, yeah, okay, well, that happened. And then Frankenstein's like, oh, cool, well, that's easy. By the way, how did you even find me? And Flash says, oh, well, I was heading back to Central City when all of a sudden nightmares all over the world, and I was going to call Justice League for backup, but then I picked up on your signal down here. And sorry for fighting you at first, but you know, you're not really looking like the hero type. And at that point, Frankenstein's like, wait a minute, I don't have a tracker, unless, did Steve Trevor put trackers on us last arc? That son of a bitch. So, yes, they have those. Frankenstein then says, all right, look, whatever. Next thing we got to do is find Xanadu because she can help us find the rest of everybody else. And Flash is like, oh yeah, we got a file on her in the Justice League. I'll just go get her real quick. And just zoops away, zoops back. She's got Xanadu. And took care of all of her nightmare stuff in the meantime. And Frankenstein's like, Flash, look, I appreciate it, buddy, everything you're doing here, but this is magic, so please stop running off because you don't know how to fight magic. So at that point, Swamp Thing is still talking to Dr. Destiny, and he's like, dude, I'm done with it. I'm not listening to this anymore. He rips himself off of the wall and starts to, like, go up to Destiny to beat the crap out of him. And the Destiny says, burn. And then all of a sudden, Swamp Thing starts burning. And he's like, oh, this is your fear? This is what you're afraid of? All right, then keep burning. And so then, as he's burning, just slaps him back onto the wall and says, all right, well, I've got other stuff to do now. So we see Deadman is stuck in his nightmare carnival, and he's like, guys, you can't hurt me, I'm a ghost. And then they hurt him, and he's like, oh, God, this is a nightmare. And as he's being attacked, Frankenstein and Xanadu show up, and they start throwing punches and stuff like that. And then, like, what happened to Flash? And then Flash runs in, completely annihilates all of them, and says, sorry, had to save some people on the way over here. Nice to meet you, Deadman. And Tin Man's like, oh my god, Constantine's gonna love you. You're so innocent looking. Do you smoke? So then we see what Constantine's doing. He's battling some blood versions of himself. But battling is a weird way to say it in that they're kind of just telling Constantine, hey, we're going to be the darker side of you, and we're going to go out and kill a bunch of people. And Constantine's like, yeah, well, try this on for size. And then before he gets to do anything, Flash runs in, is about to attack them, but one of the Constantines throws a cigarette, which I guess explodes, and throws Flash off his game. So then they surround Flash, they're about to attack him. Flash rushes out through one of them, and I guess one of the blood Constantines causes a freezing spell or something, so now Flash is frozen solid. So the rest of the Justice League Dark show up, they all start attacking the blood Constantines, and Constantine's like, guys, I literally was about to solve this. I know, like, what kind of spell they are. I'm just going to call them back into me because they're made of my blood. And so he recounts the spell, and he just pulls them all back in. He's like, yeah, thanks for the backup, I guess, but I would have been fine. So they unfreeze Flash, and Constantine's like, yeah, I know who you are. Like, what are you even doing here? And they all start ganging up on Constantine of like, yeah, this is all your fault. Like, you're the one who lost the House of Mysteries. Maybe we should leave you behind. Flash is much cooler anyway. I'd much rather have Flash with me. And Flash is like, please don't put me in the middle of whatever this is. But also, I think we should probably keep Constantine along if it is something that is actually his fault. And so they're like, fine, whatever. We can keep Constantine around for now. And so Basically, they say, all right, we have to find the House of Mystery. It could be anywhere. Flash, why don't you go looking for it? And so Flash runs off to start looking for it. And they're like, Constantine, come on. It's literally a magic house. It could be anywhere. It could look like anything. You just sent him off on a wild goose chase. And then he immediately comes back and be like, all right, it's on 90th Street up in the penthouse. And immediately everyone's like, Jesus Christ, we need to keep Flash around. Can we get him from Justice League? Can we just do that? So they make their way over to where it is. We see that it's covered in like woods and vines and stuff because Swamp Thing's involved. Frankenstein and Flash are going to stay down on the street and take care of people trying to get inside while the rest of the group goes up inside. And when they get to the elevator, they see that there's a picture inside the elevator of Xanadu with a baby. And she's like, well, that's not possible or good. I don't know what this means. And so when they get up to the top floor, Dr. Destiny's there. He immediately zaps Deadman and Constantine, takes them off the board, and then he turns to Xanadu and be like, here's the thing. You can't stop me. You couldn't see me in your visions. And you know why? It's because I am the horror that you created, mother. Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, Dr. Destiny is the son of Xanadu. Which I gotta say, I didn't see coming. I maybe that's just a bit of DC lore I've always overlooked, or maybe this is a new thing, but I did not see that one coming. So yeah, this was a solid issue. I think Flash adds a lot of levity to it that in these sort of like, this goes back to that first arc where Enchantress was like doing crazy things and making all this stuff go horrible. But there wasn't any levity to it, except for Deadman trying to have a threesome. I remember that part. But there wasn't like an overarching levity to it. Flash adds that in, and I appreciate him here. I think that this is, in terms of an unnecessary crossover, this one at least makes it work. Like, I don't know why Flash is here, but he makes it work, and I like the way he's written. So yeah, I'm gonna give this one a, I'll give it a solid 8 in that I like Flash being here, and I also like the twist at the end. There's very little in this that is actually bad. Like, I don't think there really is anything, but it also doesn't have that extra it factor to get it up to like a 9 or a 10. I think that it's just a nice solid issue that boosts its way up to an 8.